Yeah, that'd be a good talent to have to be able
Welcome everyone to our Saturday evening meeting. For those of you who are new, 1%. Two people.
to. Two people, yeah.
You didn't know about did you? No? I recommend you somewhere.
Right?
That's what I thought too. Okay, well anyway, we meet here every other week from
We auctioned it off.
Thank you for watching over it. Is there a white hanger?
There was.
I actually left and I put it outside.
Oh, you put it outside?
Yeah.
Cool, thank you.
During the first 45 minutes or so, we will generally have a speaker discuss the topic, and then there will be open discussion for the remainder. Everyone is encouraged to bring any resources, experience, or knowledge you may have to share. The success of this group depends heavily on our mission is to provide resources and support to all members of the transgender community, building relationships through fellowship and consent. There is no fee for your participation. We ask only that you give what you can, not give fee anyway. Tonight we have Liz speaking about a little surgery and a couple little announcements about before we start, let's take a moment to go around and introduce ourselves. If you have preferred pronouns, be sure to mention them as well. I will start. My name is Brianna. I am a girl. I'm a girl.
Okay, I'm female pronoun.
Male pronoun. I
We can do the announcement. Sure.
You just don't call me late for dinner.
I'm Danny. She, her, too.
I'm Haven. She, her, hers.
I'm
Danielle.
Danny also. He, she, her, hers, and ma'am.
Sassy.
I'm Faith. Excuse me. I'm Faith. She, her, hers.
And I'm Liz. She, her. And we've got a couple people on the if you feel comfortable, introduce yourselves too.
Alexa, she, her.
Hi, Alexa. Okay, so John, I'm asking if you.
The symposium. What was the other one?
The one was about them. Last time we were here.
Oh, okay.
So I'll talk
I'll
about
talk
that.
about
You
this
wanna
symposium.
talk about
Okay. Okay, so we're really organized today. Yeah, so on this Thursday, there was a symposium followed by a gala at the University of Minnesota. We were kind enough to be invited to that event. So it was really, really exciting. There's not a whole lot to report here necessarily. It was just nice that we are being included in these types of things, and we're able to do a lot of networking with people who are there. Oh, the other one was that they do that. So anyway, so Liz and I went. There was a lot of different speakers at the symposium in the morning. There was the gal who's going to do my surgery, Marcy Bowers, was there from San Francisco. She did training at the U of M, I believe.
Yeah, she went to medical school there.
Went to medical school there. So it was exciting to see her there. Kate Bornstein, a very, very popular author, was there, so we got to see and hear from her twice because she spoke at the gala that evening as well. So it was really, really fun. There was a panel of parents that were at the end of the symposium that kind of went down on the stage. It was like an auditorium type thing, and took like a Q&A or whatever. And it's really nice to see like the very brave parents who step forward for their children. And I cried a lot in the front row, so that was really embarrassing. But then at the gala, I was able to speak with one of the moms one-on-one and just talk to her about a few things. And so that was really like a highlight of my day. We actually talking to the parents. But it was really neat seeing those speakers. You hear about them and whatnot, and when you're talking about the other people in the community and stuff like that. So it was a really worthwhile experience. I also had a gal from a company called Allure Influence reach out to me a couple weeks ago, and they want to do a presentation at one of our groups in the future. So that's exciting. I got to meet with her and have coffee yesterday. They're kind of like a Victoria's Secret, but they're local. They're from Wisconsin, so they have 2 stores in Wisconsin and 3 in Minnesota. There's one in Edina at the Galleria, one in St. Paul, I think, off of Grand, and one in Maple Grove. So,
What's the name of the place?
Allure Intimates.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of advertisement lately. Yeah, they've really come a long way in just the last year.
There's 2.
Cool.
Yeah, and the gal is the regional manager for Minnesota, whatever that means. And I asked her, I'm like, how did you hear about Minnesota Transgender Alliance? She's like, well, I wanted to reach out to the transgender community, and so I typed in Minnesota Transgender, and your group popped up, and I looked on your website and clicked on the email and sent you an email. And of course, I got the email and we went yesterday for coffee. So this is just really exciting to have all of these connections. Recently with our group, it seems to be just increasing more and more and getting us more involved in the community. So it's exciting. I just want to let you guys know that, and if you guys get any of these connections as well, pass them on to me so that we can get more people coming in here and speaking and bringing additional information and support to the group. That's like our motto. So yeah, exciting. It was an exciting couple of weeks for us.
And the thing I want to talk about was that the last time that we met here, there was a large group that was meeting upstairs. It sounds like this grouping upstairs now too. But, and we did have a problem with kids running around downstairs. And some of them actually even harassed one of us. And when we went out to talk to the kid, and then the mom wasn't particularly helpful in that. Now, because of this is the first time, we've been running this group for a year, this is the first time that anyone's had any type of trouble with that type of thing at one of our groups or on the way to or from one of the groups. Or any of the meetings any of the time that we've gone out for things afterwards. And so it was kind of shocking to have that happen, because there really aren't that many reports that we hear of people being harassed in the street in Minneapolis. It seems to be one of the better locations in the United States for this. So to have it here and what we considered to be our home for it was really unfortunate. We did talk to the person at the church who coordinates groups like this, the external type people come in, and she was very disappointed to hear about that. There were 2 things that went wrong. Well, first the harassment, which is obviously not right, and then also kids aren't supposed to be running around unattended like they were. So in the future, they're going to make sure that doesn't happen, and also if we do see it happening, we can report it. And also that group is not going to be hosted here at the same time we are in the future.
Good.
So there's a couple things to try to prevent that in the future, and now that we know that we've got that kind of support too, we can be more active about doing something about it when that type of stuff happens again.
And thank you, Liz, for reacting immediately to that situation too. We want everyone to be welcome here, and we chose a church and a location that we thought was best for this group, and hopefully it is. Hopefully that is just a little hiccup, and we can continue to have a partnership with this organization, because we looked very, very hard to find this location. This is not the first church that we looked at or even visited and talked to and toured before we picked this one. So a lot of work went into this, and we don't want that to be for naught. At the same time, we want to make sure that we are in the right places for people, in the best places for our community. So thank you, Liz, for reacting quickly, and thank you to you guys for letting us know right away when there is something like that that's uncomfortable. That's really important for us, so that we can do the best thing for this group, because we want it to be something that's successful going forward, and so that's part of that.
And we wanted to be completely honest and upfront about it happening, because as much as we didn't like it to happen, it did happen. And we have to be realistic about this, and we have to know that these things are out in the environment and out in the community. It can happen anywhere.
Yeah.
We had the misfortune of having it here during one of our groups, so that was really quite yeah, it was unfortunate, but I was very happy with how the church reacted to it.
It's always an opportunity to educate and build bridges when something like that happens. And speaking for myself, and I'm sure some of you, it's wonderful to have the kind of proactive approach that we have here. That's very, very well done.
And that reminds me that the coordinator was also going to talk to the person who coordinated that group who's coming in, so they can know about it also.
I have an announcement that can be after the presentation, but it's let me know when you want
Is it, how long is it?
30 seconds or less.
Let's just do now since we're in that mode.
Okay. So there are a group of hate groups that are funded by Dr. Dobson that have started to descend upon, they were anti-same-sex marriage and now they've remobilized to be anti-transgender. And they are targeting our youth in particular. We've been so far to 2 of the Hennepin school board meetings. They are, again, staging a large protest on April 24th. So if any of you are available to be at the Sandburg Education Center, hold sign, Ellie, thank you. I think Ellie will be there too. And Transforming Families.
What day is that?
I think it's Monday night, the 24th of April. Monday, 24th of April.
Okay,
And it's in Anoka, so it might be a bit of a haul.
there.
Dobson, that's focused on the family.
It's,
Yeah.
they call themselves the Child Protection League, and they're also Marriage Matters. They have like one address. There are like 4 hate groups out of this one address, in like St. Anthony or something.
Yeah.
And if you follow the money, it goes back to some really bogus mean hate group that's founded by Dr. Dobson, but has like a bunch of other ministers and whatever, and they have big bucks.
They need to focus on Congress and the congressmen that are molesters, and they need to focus on their own church members who are doing that. Sons of guns.
Yeah, it's been ugly the last month for you. So if you're available, there'll be signs, there'll be people to help represent.
And if anyone wants the link to that event, I can send it to you.
Please do.
So you can say
Yes,
that you're going.
please do. Put it on the
Because they had already sent
webpage.
it to me, and I
Okay.
said that I would go. So
Can
I
I-
will find that for
Can I
everyone.
mention the?
Catherine, you know Catherine Eckhart? She's the one who sent it to me.
Yeah, the name sounds familiar.
Okay.
Or should I?
We'll schedule it first.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I'm not
Yeah,
sure
mine's
any
connected.
Facebook
Thanks
pages
as well.
on that.
I don't know. I just said it was connected.
I have a quick announcement. Last month, we did have our first meeting in St. Cloud, so the group was launched in St. Cloud. The next meeting will be this Monday again at 7 o'clock. So just letting the people know that yes, we are expanding as a group. We're still in Anoka with the youth, and then we're here, and now we're up in St. Cloud. So we are up and running, and we are expanding. So
How many people do you have up there right now?
it's limited, but our name is just starting to get out there. So
Okay.
it's going to probably be a slower build, but that's okay.
Sure.
The idea of just even getting out there, because I just visited my primary doctor, and not only did she hear of us through me, but she's also now received some information throughout the doctor network that
Oh, wonderful.
that we're all here. So just letting you know that, yes, we're starting to really build a bigger network. And of course, we don't want to overbuild, but I think our approach is really good that we've used.
Yeah.
So.
I was talking to my doctor's office the other day, and they had a girl reached out to them from up near Duluth, and she's willing to travel, so I'm going to get her the information
Oh,
about
that
our
would be
group.
wonderful.
She wants to come down and join us, so I'm going to make sure she gets our information and whatnot through my doctor's office.
And I just shared that to our Facebook page now. So
Got it. Thank you.
You can say that you're going to that event via that now. So
Wonderful.
and it's called Support Trans Kids.
What time is it?
I have a
April 24th at 6 p.m.
6 p.m. Okay, good.
a
Thank
personal
you for making that
announcement.
I
announcement.
want to.
Just today, I got the letter that a judge has been assigned to my name and gender change. So
Yay.
Monday, I can get that call to find out when that's going to happen.
Yay.
Thanks again.
That would be a good topic to discuss in here for Minnesota people because it varies from state to state, of course.
Well, of course, I wasn't born in this state too.
Are you having it done here though?
Yes.
Okay.
I only spent the first year of my life in Virginia, so.
Oh.
Of course, that'll make the birth certificate thing.
Well, like Danny was born in
it just changed
Pennsylvania.
last month.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
They just changed the laws in Virginia.
Oh, wonderful.
Okay, so for our topic,
Let's do it.
2 surgeries. And the reason I'm doing this is because recently I had 2 surgeries. And they were 1 month apart. So the things that I'm going to cover on this, and I've got it up here so not everyone, if you're not sitting in a way that you can see this, you'll be able to
I'm
see
going to
it.
see your second one up close and personal, so I don't think I want to.
So the four areas I was going to cover were why am I doing this now, the general one, why the ones that I did, and then specifics about the 2 surgeries I had. The 2 surgeries I had were a reduction of the cartilage here, so the reduction of the Adam's apple, and the other one was an orchiectomy, so getting rid of the testicles. So now, the why now part of it, because it's a valid question, because I had transitioned, I guess, about 2 years ago, late March is when I switched over work, which is the last barrier, so it's been 2 years that I've done this. I had first focused on looking at the big surgeries, so GRS, or general reconstructive surgery, thinking that that was the path I was going to pursue. And eventually I signed up, put out my name onto Dr. Bauer's waiting list, and some of the services that she does along with GRS, well, an orchiectomy comes along with that naturally. And but she also does work in reductions and anatomy. Well, I'll just tack that on while I'm doing that. But then as time moved on, I realized that I probably didn't want to have that much surgery. From descriptions that I've read and from people I know who've gone through it, there's a lot of recovery that's involved in it. And it just didn't seem like it would be something that I could pull off all that easily. And also it wasn't something that I thought was as worth it as it is to other people. Because a lot of the dysphoria that I had was around, probably almost describe it better as social type things. To have people now know me as me and to be able to present myself this way fixed most of it. Now, of course, the last bit would be nice too, but I just don't know if that. I don't have the same types of symptoms that other people have. That wasn't, the genital area is not a focus of what bothered me when I was a kid, when I was an adolescent. And yes, it's never been something I particularly liked, but it's not been the thing that's been the worst part of it. And so I realized that if there was something I could just flip the switch and it would all be done and I wouldn't have to worry about recovery or anything else, but yeah, sure, of course I do it. But it's not, the reality of it is a lot more complex than that, and a lot more painful and a lot more time consuming. Especially given that I've got young kids and that doesn't bother me that much, I realize that it's not something that really makes sense for me to pursue. So so I decided to put that on hold, and in fact, essentially put it on indefinite hold. So that's why I pursued orchiectomy. And then also went after this because now that they opened up the case for doing this independently. And the orchiectomy was there because you wanted to do that because of the benefits of that, which are that you don't have to take as much, but you can essentially stop taking the androgen antagonists that you're doing, so that you don't have to take the testosterone blocker anymore. So spironolactone, it didn't bother me as much as it bothers some people, but it's not a harmless drug, and it's not it's even though it's fairly effective. Generally, you can get better results after you don't have to take it anymore. Also, you can reduce the amount of estrogen you take. So because I'm on patches, I'm on 2 patches at a time of the highest dose one that they have, and then my doctor says after you get that done, you can drop down to 1 patch. Because it's a combination, and I don't understand exactly the chemical mechanism of how this works, but it's a combination of extra estrogen along with the androgen antagonist that keeps testosterone lower. So in general, what I've heard is that after a surgery like this, whether it's through an orchiectomy or whether it's through GRS, that even with a lower dose of estrogen that you don't have, that it essentially works better. You get more effect out of it. so that's another reason to do it. And did I cover everything? Yeah, so now having had it done, the benefits are quite nice in that I don't crave salt constantly.
Let's say one of the other benefits is cost. I mean, honestly, you're looking at somewhere between 20 and 40, maybe even more, $1,000 for a complete GRS.
Oh, yes.
Where an Orky is $5,000-6,000, and most of our insurances are now covering that, where they're still balking at covering full surgery, unless you're on Medicaid, which until President Orange Cheeto takes it away from us, it's still covered for us. So just to let you know.
So I already covered this, the why we used to. And for the Anzac one, this one, the reason I went after this is that it just always bugged me. It just, even when I was a kid, it was after junior high when I started that mine was so big that when I thought I was a guy, it was big compared to other guys. It was huge. I mean, it's like it was bigger than my chin. It wasn't quite that bad. But actually, I mean, it was bad enough that, and this is one of my favorite stories about it, is that someone was taking a picture of me. And if you were using a phone or a modern camera, that you'll see it draw pictures around people's heads because they're showing you where the focus ranges are. It drew a box around my Adam's apple instead of my head.
Oh,
It's not my Adam's apple was my head.
dear.
So I didn't really fun. Actually, I found that funny, but it just was something that always really bothered me. Now, as far as being clocked because of that, there are a few people who realized I was trans in part because of having that. And generally, it was actually other trans people who saw that, but like, you're trans. But in general, there've been several people who I've known for some time and told me that they didn't realize I was trans. And that was something that when I first started transing, I thought I would have to. I thought that was something I was going to have to take care of. I was going to have to take care of before I started transing. But then I noticed as soon as when my features started to change, it wasn't as noticeable, even though it was still there. It just kind of. It didn't, somehow it not fitting in with the rest of everything else, it seemed to somewhat disappear. So that was, so it really wasn't a matter of trying to fit in, it wasn't really a matter of trying to look more cis, it bugged me. So for this one, which is often called, one of the technical names for it is the thyroid cartilage reduction, it's also called trachea shape, and for some reason that word trachea shape always bugs me, that's why I don't put it in here. I don't know, it's
Like it has hair or something,
I just don't like
No,
it.
I know.
So that's why I try to refer to it by other terms. So the areas that cover the surgeon selection, insurance, anesthesia, the procedure itself, recovery, and then cloud alcohol. So for surgeon selection, this one was something that I started with an internet search and ended with an internet search because there was someone who seemed to be highly regarded for this, which is Dr. Cohen, that's someone that we got a little experience with for a different procedure. And seems to be a well-regarded plastic surgeon in the Twin Cities, and about the only person who had any reviews as far as that surgery. And so it was an easy selection because of that, because he was well reviewed in general for that procedure, and there wasn't any other real choice, and so I wanted to go somewhere else. But it's not a complex procedure, so it's not something I thought that really warranted going somewhere else for if we had someone who's in town who was qualified and well regarded for it. And that person is Dr. Tholen. I don't remember his first name. Do you know his first name? Richard Tholen? That sounds familiar. I think it was Richard. Now, the downside to going to him is that he does have a backlog of patients trying to get to him, so it took several months to get in just for a consultation. And even with the consultation, there was a couple more months that were involved in getting the surgery date. I got mine a little bit earlier because there seemed to be a cancellation, so there was something that was a few weeks earlier than the next available one. So I took that one, even though the date wasn't the best date for it, but it was the first one that was available, so I didn't need it.
It does tend to happen, and sometimes also you get it a lot faster if he doesn't have a health problem like you've just broken his leg.
Yes. And
Sorry,
so I
what'd you
think
say?
He actually had an injury, which probably delayed a lot of his procedure. So,
He lost his leg.
yeah, but then he actually
He
had
hurt his
another. Oh, his neck. Okay.
Yeah.
He had another injury after that, and he couldn't
Ouch.
feel his arms, and so it made it really hard to do surgery.
Yeah.
He couldn't feel his
I'm done with that.
Doing it with his mouth or something. I don't know that I'd go there.
No, not like the paintbrush. No. But
Oh, too funny.
But yeah, no, that might have been part of your delay because
I think it
Eric,
was. I think that helped.
rapid. Yeah, it was relatively rapid. But he's the best at being really direct. He'll like flat out tell you, this is what it would be if you went elsewhere and you try to go through insurance and da. But he'll also I don't want to say cut us a break, but he said, look, this is what it's going to cost, and you're going to have a better result. And he was just really direct and really easy to work with. Did you have the same experience?
Yep. And I didn't have I didn't have much in the way of questions for him, just because again, I didn't really have anyone else comparing to, so it was really just a matter of going to him to schedule it. Now, the one thing I thought was a little bit strange is that I did get asked several times about when I transitioned and how long I've been on hormones and other things like that, which I thought was a little strange given that this is a surgery that can be done for people who aren't trans. They say that women who have an unusually large Adam's apple, or even guys who just don't like that, can get it done. So I think that, well, it doesn't matter how long I've been transitioning and how long I've been on estrogen. So
I'm just curious. You're an interesting person.
yeah, it must be.
Yeah, and Eric was.
Is there something here that you need? Come on in.
Yeah, Eric was never asked.
Here.
Oh, really?
Not once. We were just talking about that. It's like that sex is different.
Hi, Kate.
Yeah, we saved you a seat.
Yeah, we saved you a seat.
Actually, someone's up there.
Your turn to be late.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Very, very late. Man,
That's the weather probably helped you out.
What's that?
The weather helped you out.
Yeah,
The weather and showing. Yeah, my ex had to use my old laptop because I got a new one past
Oh,
that
boy.
My kid was enjoying sunshine. I should make him stop doing that. And stuff. No, it's good.
We missed everything you're finishing up right now.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. Serves me right.
Very nice.
Yeah, so the questions about when I transitioned were kind of strange, just because again I don't know what the purpose of them were for. I don't know what the information I would have gotten, or if I just said I just did it yesterday. What would be the difference? So maybe they were just curious about other things. And I did ask if there was anything else that he would recommend doing. So I'm like, well, I don't know. And I was probably, whatever he said, I was probably going to say no to, because if I didn't think of it, I thought it probably wasn't needed. So, yeah, you could do this, you could do that, but probably nothing else would be worth it. Which I thought was a nice thing to say, and probably because he has enough of a backlog of patients, he didn't feel the need to sell me anything.
It's just refreshing that way. He just
Yeah,
his MO.
Is he a general plastic surgeon? I mean, does he do, other,
He does. And there is an associated beauty clinic. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but like day spa.
Like a skin clinic?
Yeah, and so we got to Carian or something, that's CAR, yeah. And so after surgery, we got a fabulous coupon to go and get free Botox.
oh, nice.
Yeah, I don't think Eric's gonna use it just because he's
I didn't get a coupon.
I will give you the coupon. Do you want the coupon? No, it's not
Are you saying
expired. There's no expiration date on it.
Are you saying I need it?
Well,
No. I've been
that was
thinking
a
about
good
it.
setup.
No, I've been thinking about using it, but I don't want to trade it for something different than the Botox because I'm a little scared of botulism. But
It's dead botulism.
right.
It's just a
So
toxin.
right.
Oh,
But
sure.
It's quite a discount.
Let's some snake venom while we're at it,
Oh my gosh.
I was going to say, you were bothered by your Adam's apple. Since before my transition, I've been bothered by my nose. That's why I asked, because Carl Malden keeps calling and saying, I want my nose back. I have this thing here on my face, So I was looking for somebody locally. Good. I may have to check him out for that then. Because,
He's
man,
definitely transparent. He said the first procedure he did on transfers was 30 years ago. So
wow.
I'm not sure.
That's great. That's good to know. Buy local, shop local.
Exactly. No travel. So unless you.
I'm
That was
big
one of the
believer.
things I added in actually was, so where do you do these surgeries? What state? Bam. So there's one benefit if you don't necessarily want the full GRS. You don't want full GRS right now.
Yeah.
Is you don't have to go out of town.
or even out of state.
Yeah.
I mean, I know a lot of surgeons in California because I'm from there. And I know some other people, Boston and a few places, but it was you that told me that there's now someone at Mayo
Right.
that's doing GRS.
And we spoke to him on Thursday, actually. 'Cause
Did
he's
you?
one of the people that was
Oh,
at the
wonderful.
symposium. And he used to be my therapist.
Wonderful.
So,
See, that's great.
so yeah, they are doing their second one this week. So that's very new.
Yeah.
Very new. Yeah.
Yeah, Cedars-Sinai in LA is just opening their own trans surgery clinic too. And I don't think that doctor, I think it's Morales or Miranda or whatever, he hasn't done any yet because he's still waiting to get privileges, hospital privileges, getting all the certifications and stuff. It's that new. So.
But for the cost for this surgery, it was, well, for insurance-wise, theoretically, it could be covered by my insurance. I've had some trouble with the extended type of stuff that comes within our insurance. There's, and it's too much to get into, but by and large, my company is self-insured, and they also chose to have trans-inclusive healthcare. So so Blue Cross has not been great about covering certain things, even though that our contract with them says we should. And when I have had trouble, I've just gone to our benefits director who tells them yes, pay it, and then I do it. But still, that's an extra step. And if you don't have a company that's self-insured, you can't do that. You're only working with the insurance company. So if it's self-insured, in case you don't know, but the company I work for itself, it's a big company. So what they do is instead of buying insurance through Blue Cross, they have Blue Cross just handle the claims, and they pay it. So they're just paying for people's medical stuff directly. They just have Blue Cross doing the paperwork.
Administrative, yeah.
Mm-hmm. The administrative stuff and the claims, that kind of jazz. So if you have a trouble with claims, they can supersede Blue Cross. But now this one, because Dr. Tolan isn't within their network, he doesn't go with any insurance companies directly because most cosmetic surgery isn't covered by insurance. So in this case, it would be considered to be out of network. So it means the costs are a little bit higher, and also have to pay for it upfront. Now the cost for it was only $4,400, which sounds in some ways like a lot, but that's about the lowest cost surgery you can get that involves like actual operating room.
Which surgery was the 44?
That was the trachea one.
Okay.
And for anesthesia, because I have had trouble with anesthesia in the past, and the trouble is that I've become very disruptive and I talk too much. And so when I was about 25 and I had my wisdom teeth taken out and I was sedated for it, I got out of myself. I also was, I barely remember this, but I remember continuously trying to talk when I tried to talk when I'm not saying, don't talk, your tongue's going to fall out. Then I had, a few years ago, I had surgery on a vein in my leg. And when I was coming out of it, I was feeling somewhat loopy and starting to play with the equipment that was connected to me. And like, this isn't, thinking I'd just override it. And so just things like that. And that was just a total pain in the ass to anyone who was trying to take care of me. So that, I don't want to do that. I'm going to try to avoid it if possible. There's certain surgeries that are done, but very invasive surgeries that are done without people being under. There's certain types of brain surgeries that are done without that because they need the person to be awake so they can respond and do things. Or C-sections. Generally, people are awake for it. And they just have the bottom half of themselves numb. And I didn't know about this because I don't know how you get to spinal block right up here, but I asked and I said, no, we have to be sedated because we don't want you moving because we're in a sensitive area. Well, there's a lot of nerves and arteries and such that you don't with knives. And so okay, fine. And so yes, I was a pain in the ass when I came out on that one too. But I asked, and now I did have to, and I only realized afterwards that I'd been intubated during this also. I suppose they want to have as much control over you as they can so you're not moving around. And so that meant I had a fairly sore throat for the next couple of days and my voice was scratchy and the procedure itself is that because they don't. There's only a certain amount they take off. There's only a certain amount they can take off because this is a necessary structure, which is why it's there, and it's there to hold open the windpipe and also as part of your voice box. And so these are all the things that are necessary for keeping your voice as it is and just general protection. So now, one way that surgeons will do it is that they'll make an incision here because that's where you're doing the pump. I know that some doctors will do the incision here because it's close, but it's in this fold and you can't see the incision. And Dr. Roland takes the approach of doing it way up here.
Oh.
So it is up here, and then somehow it's all the way down here, and then to cut those parts of it off. Now, the way mine was shaped is almost shaped like a pirate speaker with like the little lip for pouring stuff in the front. And that's kind of the part that they take off of that front part, the part that sticks out the most. So that's why you can still see it. So some people looked at this and said, wait, I can still see it. Now, I knew going into this that it wasn't going to be like somehow they could remove all of this. Just by imagining that this part of my throat is just far enough forward that you can't get rid of it without just like getting rid of essential structures. So I knew that going into it that I was just going to take the edge off in some way, and I did take the edge off. Now, I suppose it's because it was way up here that he said that. So, and again, this part I don't really understand completely of like which muscles are involved, but you cut from here, go down, remove some of the cartilage from here, and then you would suture some muscles together over it. Now, I don't know if they were the ones that he cut through, if there were more than, it sounded like there was going to be some more. He talked about being able to see two tendons through here that separate. And said, I can see those separating. So if we bring this together, it's to get a little bit farther, but it'll be smoother over the front. And then, but now what I didn't realize is that the sutures were going to extend from there all the way up to this part. So if I feel along here, I can feel it feels like almost like there's a baseball that stitches along all the way from here down to here. Now I don't feel any of it except for just over here. None of it ever hurt. It's just here. So as part of the cleanup from it, he wants to do, because in order to try to avoid scar tissue when you have something like this, you're supposed to do probably several minutes a day because that helps keep it from getting too large of scar tissue structure around it. I'm also supposed to do this. Now a couple of sutures have actually moved from under tension. And you can see these little points, these little dots, they almost look like pimples there. And those are little ends of sutures sticking out. And for the first few days that those would turn around, it felt like something, which was like something poking at my skin from the inside. It was like a needle poking at me. And so every once in a while, like, it would be that sharp of a feeling because there is this probably sharp-ended, fairly thick suture. And these are self-dissolving sutures, so eventually they're going to go away. But I'm something that's going to be weeks. I asked him how, he said, no, those are going to take a few months to dissolve. But I figured that it wouldn't be that long before it dissolving, that the edges around it would come off first. It would be somewhat rounded and it would be thinner. And so now this really doesn't hurt. You can see at least 2 or 3 of them that are kind of through, but they really don't hurt like they did.
Did he tell you to do one of these? And I look weird as I'm doing it, but it's strength. So you have the added benefit now. Because what they do is they paralyze your muscles and then they cut through the tendons to get your cartilage tripped up and use the musculature and the tendons. You will never get turkey neck now.
Oh, really?
Which is really strong in my family, so I will have turkey neck. So you have an added bonus there.
Oh.
Yeah, but they do now have an injection that you can take that sells that away. So just saying, there is another path if you don't want surgery, and it's much less expensive. But to prevent that also, and that might also help strengthen as your sutures dissolve.
Okay, everybody do it now.
It's really embarrassing.
Does it work on double chins?
It does.
Oh, good.
It does actually meant for that, but you should feel a pull. Like you should really feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I do that,
Then you know you're doing it right.
goodness.
Last time I've done that, they offered me 20 bucks.
It kind of reminds me of like the fish tank where somebody puts some food in and get all the fish up.
Yeah, I was going to say, is it feeding time?
Yeah. I mean, it's like something you want to do to try to save your bathroom, but still.
That's pretty cool, though.
Yeah.
It's good to know.
It does help.
Yeah. So now the surgeon asked me how old I was. And I said 45. I was 45 at the time. And he said, well, there's classification there because as you get older, the more the calcium builds up inside of cartilage structures, and so it becomes more bone-like. So I may have to use different tools to do it. And afterwards, the last couple, when I went in for follow-up, said, yeah, there was a lot of calcification there. So instead of just having a scalpel and just slicing a bit off, I said I had to use a bone equipment. which is a little bit disturbing, but at least it's a safe bet. Yeah, it gets worse. Not for this one. Next. So the procedure takes about an hour to an hour and a half. It was supposed to be an hour and a half because of the complication. I was in from front to end, from prep to leaving. I was there for about 4 hours. And like a lot of surgery, like any surgery that's an outpatient one, they want somebody to drive you home because you're drugged up. And they want that first treatment for the first 24 hours because, and I definitely was not in the state to keep track of what I had taken and what I hadn't during those first 24 hours. Recovery for that, they prescribed a prescription painkiller that has a narcotic in it, and I only took that the day of the surgery, and then the next day, it's still some pain, but regular Tylenol took care of it, because I only had to do it the first day. I had to wear a jaw bra, which you'll see a picture of for a week afterwards, and then another week for at night. And then
on your throat?
So this is what that looked like. So this is it was something that was
a jaw bra.
Yeah,
oh, okay.
That was the brand name of it.
Oh my gosh.
And there was
I thought you said jogging bra when she first said it. I thought,
That's
what the hell's that
picture.
got to
Almost
do with
golden
this?
there.
You
That's
know?
a really good picture.
And there's a big pad that was under here to put pressure on this. And I did get a lot of bruising.
So the padded bra?
A big square pad.
That's funny.
Yeah, but most of the bruising I had was along here because I think the pad pushed it away. So I went down my neck and then it was there for a week or so. But yes, I did wear this to work and yes, it was embarrassing.
Hey, I hate to interrupt you. Are you guys using the coffee machine in the small kitchen?
We were.
Yeah, are you done with
okay?
it? Oh, it's totally fine. I just wondering if will you turn it off then when you're done? Okay, super. And then I'm gonna lock the doors at about 7:30.
Okay.
And so if anybody else is coming, they can call you and you can let them in.
Yeah, it should be.
You're pretty much, you're all here.
I hope so.
Okay, super.
Some of us are only partly here, but
Well, physically you're here. Anyway.
Thank you for letting us know. I appreciate it.
Bye.
See you next time. Bye.
see you next time.
So this was relatively easy as far as surgeries go. And again, like I mentioned before, going into it, you should understand the limits of it, that, you're still going to have something here. It's just not going to be as intrusive as it was. And overall, I definitely thought it was worth it for me, given the cost and the recovery was, neither of those were really all that bad. So this is like, just in case, especially for those of you who didn't know me before, there's a before and after. So you can see that it was, is it shown here? Yeah, so that point that was there, that was hard. You saw it in almost every picture, just because it's like it seemed to always be illuminated by light because of that.
There's really no point for it being there.
Yeah, and it really didn't help anything.
Exactly.
Like a few other things. Which also leads to the next one.
Before you move on, Liz, I want to share, I hope you don't mind. When I first met Liz, we talked for, a few minutes before she finally turned, and I saw the thing from the throat.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, yeah, I had to duck. Anyway, and so from personal experience, and just from knowing Liz for the length of time that I have, it's like Mount Everest and the big tall point here in Minnesota. There's just no difference. And she looks marvelous.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, thank you.
That would be Eagle's Nest, by the way.
Is it Eagle's Nest? Somebody told me that it was there was a point that was 694 feet or something like
There's
that.
nothing high enough here to
Yeah.
be worthy of a name.
A lot of people, but they're high. But yeah, no.
From
Not
Montana, nothing here deserves a name.
Yeah.
Next. Orchiectomy. So same thing. Surgeon selection, insurance, anesthesia, procedure itself, recovery. So for this one, I didn't really know who to go to. I think internet searches really weren't particularly helpful, and I know that there's lots of urologists who do it, but then I thought, well, is there someone who understands how to do it from a trans approach? And so instead, I called the doctor that I go to for hormone replacement therapy, and she recommended Dr. Bodie. She said that he's done lots of them, and that's who they generally recommend for people.
My understanding is he might be one of the only ones that people recommend in Minneapolis.
I think that's true.
That's who I'm going to.
That's I haven't heard anything to the contrary to that.
Yeah.
And when I went in, now he does require letters, like getting GRS approved to get letters from psychologists. He follows WPATH guidelines for it. I never went back to the standards of care to see if they actually want that for an objective, because it does seem like overkill. I mean, my therapist saw that too, in that, look, if a guy is getting that, it seems like he would be a better candidate for needing therapy than someone who doesn't want them. So
My understanding,
it seems like it's not really something that's a useful step to do that. It's not something that is going to. It's from my little experience with it, it's not in the same league as GRS.
it's considered though by most insurance companies and providers as being a GRS procedure. That's what I've been told, because I'm going through the same procedure. I'm seeing Dr. Bodie next May 9th. It's my coming off day.
It just seems like it's because someone else I know who went to consultation was kind of giving him the business about it, saying like, well, why do you require it from us and not from other people? And he didn't have a particularly good answer.
Yeah.
Other than that, just following the standards of care. And of course, insurance companies require it too, Jen, I think. And so because of that, you're going to have to get one anyway. Now, I didn't, because they're both my doctor and Dr. Bodie are both in the same system, so it was easy to get a referral. I'm sure that other places can refer you to it too. I just didn't know how to do it. When I went to get the letters from the psychologist, they confirmed that these send people to the same doctor. Now, the other person who went to get a consultation around the same time I did asked the question I didn't, which is, do any of the other surgeons do this for trans people there? And so there were, I think it was something like 8 urological surgeons at the U of M and Victoria Surgical Center, and he was the only one who would do the procedure for trans people.
I did not know that.
And they don't do it because they don't know how, he didn't know exactly the reasons. He guessed whether he guessed a range of reasons it could be, but he was the only one who did it. Now, consultation with him, it took less time to get into him, a month or so, and schedule surgery. I scheduled within something like 6 weeks, maybe or so. So it wasn't super fast, but it wasn't a long wait like it was for Dr. Coleman. Insurance, this one because the Blue Cross does have something with Fairview, and this went through insurance, and it was approved. I didn't have to do anything, they took care of it all.
Did you have to get a pre-authorization?
I did, but they took care of it. So it was a prior authorization. Okay. I got a letter in the mail as we were getting close to the date, and that letter said that I was authorized to get an orchiectomy, and that would include testicle implants if I so desire. Like a prosthesis.
That's kind of self-defeating, isn't it?
It is. I'm not really sure, because I was happily so clear of it.
That's
Yeah, right. And I suppose they're more used to people getting rid of them for more oncological reasons or because of other kinds of damage, and so there's probably just a formality.
Oh, sure. I would only do that if I could get them put in my chin like Peter Griffin. Sorry. Smart remark, sorry.
Now, because I've gotten a cost back from that one, and at least the bill I've got so far has been about $9,000. It's a little higher than I thought, and I'm going to come back to that one because you need to have 2 parts of the procedure. But we'll
Interesting.
get back to that. Now, this anesthesia part, and he said that, most people just go and incur general anesthesia for this. That seems like overkill. And so I asked him if I could do it through spinal line. He said, yeah, sure. And so I go in and then we tell the anesthesiologist this, and okay. So I get wheeled into the operating room, and he starts to do things. Said, well, do you want any kind of sedative? I'm like, No, because I just, all of them, every experience I've had, it's taken so long to wear off. It's like, we could just give you something just to make you feel tired. Like, nah, just let me see it. And, I thought, like, also because I'm not particularly squeamish, and I don't mind hearing some of the details.
Ugh.
And
I went there a week ago. I had my hernia repaired wide awake.
yeah,
Just local.
mm-hmm.
I was asking, hey, how's it going? Hey, wait a minute, I felt a little tug there.
I had a hangnail once. I had him put me out. Okay.
You cracked me up.
Now, for the record, I didn't see anything, and I didn't really hear much of anything either. And in fact, it was very, really boring. Because I was in there for like an hour, and they said, hey, do you want to hear, what kind of music do you want to hear? So I told them, I actually had a pretty nice sound system inside the operating room, and
Where'd you have it?
it was at the U of M Laboratory.
West Bank, the hospital there? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the really nice looking modern building.
Yeah.
We're probably enough as not.
Yeah, it's probably the reason it costs as much as it is.
Well, they pump that up because insurance companies will give discount of 30 to 50%.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were actually paying cash for that, it might be half that amount, or like only 60% of that amount.
Right, and I never asked for a quote on it because I knew it was going to be going through insurance, unlike the other one where I knew it was going to be anything out of pocket to start with. And so most of what I've heard during it was just little things like even though the surgeon was talking with the other surgeon because it's a university hospital, so there were a couple residents in there with them, and so everything was just like very, very specific things, like a little bit higher, okay, just over a little bit, things like that. There was just nothing I could not tell what was happening at any point. I could feel like getting pushed around a little bit, and then it felt like someone was pushing on my abdomen. I didn't know if someone actually was particularly there, so I wouldn't actually have to see much of the gore. And, but yeah, I was thinking that I would be able to tell a little more about what was actually happening and where it was happening. Like, first of all, but no, there's nothing like that.
I expected that on Twitter, and you promised. And
yeah, I promised, and then
well, you were going to live tweet?
you were going to live tweet it, and I was like so disappointed.
And well, I couldn't bring the phone in.
Yeah.
And, which makes sense. And then also the operating table was this fairly narrow thing, and then you had your arms out, they could do things with it. I was like, well, I can't really. Anyway.
That's your case. Okay, cool.
And then also there was like nothing before. Like I'm in here, they're doing something, still doing something. Okay, I guess we're done. Now having spinal was kind of a weird thing too, because you're completely, absolutely, profoundly numb from somewhere in your abdomen down. So at one point they said, like, at the end they were like, okay, we're gonna lift your legs up and put some stuff under you or something like that. I said, okay. And they lifted my legs up to like here, and they lifted up, and it was like they were lifting someone else. It was really, really strange, and that was kind of uncomfortable almost. Now I found out the downside of having one of those, which is that I was in the hospital for a lot longer than I would have been otherwise. I would have left much earlier than I did. Except I had to wait for the stupid spinal to wear off. And apparently they gave me a full dose, which is when they looked at the chart and said, oh, they gave you a full dose. Because they don't have to give you a full dose. But they did, and so it took for fucking ever to wear off. And so...
Did they bend you into a donut to do it too? Like, did they bend you into a donut?
Yeah.
So that's another thing to know. If like you're not comfortable being bent into a donut, and like someone holding you in a donut shape, that's...
I've had both my knees replaced, and on one of those surgeries I had a spinal, and I absolutely hated it. It took forever to, like you said, to thaw out. And have you ever tried to pee when you're numb? It doesn't happen. It's just awful. I mean, no. And I have a very low pain threshold, so you would think that I would want something like that would just totally deaden everything down, but
yeah, it was unpleasant. And so it's the same thing with pee, which is like after being there for a few hours, I'm like, well, you still can't feel anything below your waist, and so at some point I could tell that I had to pee. Yeah. I mean, I felt pressure, but I didn't feel like I had to pee because there wasn't the sensation of something against the sphincter that holds back the pee. It was just like I could feel pressure, and that was it. So they had a special sonogram, a special bladder sonogram, which they used, and so
Oh yeah, you're full.
Oh, they said you got a leader in there. That's standard way.
Oh boy.
And they said, can you? And then then of course it gets embarrassing because then you try to have like some plastic thing.
Your urinal. Yeah.
Yeah, the urinal, and you got like 6 people around. So in this whole thing, I think I at least quadrupled the number of people who have seen my genitals in one day.
Did they not catheterize you?
At that point, they just said, because I couldn't, they said, like, okay, we're going to have to catheterize you. And he said, I'm not going to lie, this is going to be highly unpleasant. Okay, well, it's not particularly pleasant, not being able to pee either, so this is going to find me.
But then when you catheterize, it's that constant feeling of peeing.
Well, this one, I couldn't feel anything. So I was like, oh, this is fine. And then, I get hot.
I like your sound effects. It just makes it so real.
It was better the second time.
Yeah,
I think you were trying. I think you were trying hard.
I was trying hard the second time. And then later, I still couldn't pee, and then I had to get catheterized the second time. And that time it was slightly unpleasant.
You were thawing out.
I was thawing out.
Yeah.
It still wasn't as bad as it could have been. And then they said, okay, they changed their mind from you have to be able to pee before you leave to, all right, well, since we catheterized you a second time, if you don't pee before 1 a.m., go to the emergency room. And so then they let me out. So if I went in for my surgery at 11, I didn't leave until 7 p.m.
Oh.
And it was all waiting for this stupid spinal block to wear off.
How long did the surgery itself take?
It seemed to take longer than they thought it was going to.
Well, then you had a little different approach. I know you're going to cover that, but you had a little bit different thing done than I'm going to do. So
it seems like it seemed like the other direction would be longer. But I don't know. And also, the preparation seems to take longer than I thought it was going to. Okay, so there's there were a couple options I had going into it, and so there are different ways that they can do it. And so one, the simple way, or at least what's simple to someone like me who hasn't taken any classes on surgery or neurology, is that you would go in directly. And so the two basic ways of doing it are in inguinal versus a scrotal approach. And then the next question is, what do you do with the little satchel once the boys are gone?
Coin purse.
And so now I'm going to get to the explicit pictures. So if you don't want to see them, shield your eyes.
I'm right where I'm at. I don't want to see them.
This is not explicit.
No.
Girl, I thought you were going to show
It's a
your
cartoon.
I purposely looked for a cartoon one because it was easier to tell what was going on. And then the real ones, and that's also a little bit less gory. So in here, the inguinal way to do it is that, and so here's the testicle, here's the spermal part. It's called the spermal part. Comes up and around and over the bladder and drops out. So what they can do is that they can cut along here, find the spermal cord, and pull it up through there, pop it out, and then cut it that way, and just push the.
More just like a mastectomy, but not instead of just cutting tongue.
Yeah, right.
Remove.
Right.
Well,
right.
and-
Just somehow pull it through your body, and then.
I will say that, almost 30 years ago, I had a lump on my right testicle that they weren't sure whether it was benign or cancerous. And so I had this procedure done. Essentially, they went right up here, pulled it out, cut it off, not the ball, but the nodule, had it biopsied real quick and said, it's not cancerous, and then stuffed everything back in.
Wow. I'd ask them to leave the coin purse off.
Well, that was at the time when I was not out. I was still in hiding. I was in the closet of the closet. So, yeah, that was, in the trunk, behind the,
Ball going in my closet.
yeah, so, I mean, had I known back then what I know now, I would have said, hey, check that other one out, and while you're in there, just get them suckers off.
Just as a preventative measure.
Yeah.
See?
Just to make sure, just to be absolutely
And then
sure.
it's entirely medical, and then
Just
you
take them out. I don't need them. I've had my children,
That's perfect.
Now, so this is the more common way of doing it.
Yeah.
And I don't have a picture of the scrotal approach So that's why I'm drawing it here, and hopefully I've got the camera in such a way you can see it. But here, this is a very bad drawing of this right here, but what they do is they kind of cut along here, and then remove them this way, and they like try to pull out the cords as much as they can, and let them snap back in. Now this is the way that's not preferred even for us because this will be scar tissue on the satchel. So if you're interested in getting GRS later, because this is the just like when killing buffalo, but they use all the parts. So
Yes.
this is all the stuff is used in
My
GRS.
understanding, you don't want to say it, but my understanding is that's what they use to fashion your vaginal lips
It's true.
in the GRS. And so having this done does create scar tissue. It also does not allow them to get as much of the tubing out of the way. By going in this way, they're able to pull, it's like leaving a lot of wire in the wall that you don't need, so to speak. And this gets it out of the way, so when you do go ahead, you don't have the scar tissue and you don't have the extra tubing that actually becomes a problem for them when they're doing your GRS.
You guys are perfect together. You do the sound effects and you give the like boom. And sound
Yeah,
effects.
Well, she's had hers done, and I'm having mine done, and she used this approach. I'm going the other way because despite the fact that I'm 63 and it's probably not a good idea, I'm still thinking about it. I'm about 90%
You may
that
have
I'm going to
30
have it
good
done.
years left of sex.
At least.
Come on now.
At least. Oh, I
Just
like
saying.
her. Oh, I like you.
Now this approach is one that's more commonly used for things like for cancer too, because since you're getting more of the tubing, then you've got more of a chance of getting all the cancer cells. So this really is the more normal way of doing it. So again, this way is not preferred because, well, for those reasons. Plus, you've got scar tissue here. Even though you're going to be cutting along there, you still don't necessarily want to have you don't want to have scar tissue anywhere along there because that's something they're going to have to get rid of, which gives less of it. In general, even GRS surgeons prefer that you don't get an orchiectomy just because because the skin can contract, just like if you don't have something holding it open. It can contract and be smaller because of that. Now, the other option is, and this is something that you generally is only recommended if you're not planning on getting GRS, is that you can get rid of the coin purse, so as to say. And so in this case, they here, and then when they're done, it's empty. They fold it together, cut along this part, and give enough, have enough leeway, and then.
That's awesome. If you don't want GRS, then that's a really great option.
Right, exactly.
Does it add to the cost of the board?
Well, possibly because the bill was split along those lines, and so it seemed like it was $4,000 and with the bill I got $4,000 for the orchiectomy part of it, and then it's like $3,000 for the scrotumectomy.
Oh.
Oh wait, it sounded like it was 30 seconds worth of work to do, so I'm not really sure why. But billing is always kind of
Sure.
billing is usually incomprehensible to everyone, including the hospital itself. So just maybe just a means of charging.
Yeah, it could be a stupid medical code for all you know. The weirdest coding.
So I went with this way with the getting rid of that because part of this was really. It wasn't just getting away from the medical part of it, but just having it both there was just kind of. And if I'm doing this as a substitution for GRS, then the more you can get rid of the better.
So the person who has testicular cancer in one gets it done that way, gets one removed, can't get GSR because she has scar tissue, but still has to take Spiro because she has one.
That blows.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
That's like the worst of both worlds.
It took me like 45 seconds walking in here, or at least a good minute to figure out what that diagram was. Just
Well,
being
Yeah.
I'm terribly drawing.
No, I just
You should have put the other outside part of the legs and maybe
Oh,
the bugs
now I
on
get
it.
it.
See?
Struggling with
Yeah.
I don't need more details.
There you go. All right. Well, to add to what Liz is saying, I am having mine done, and I'm using the, what did they call it? Yeah, that one. Because I'm, hedging my bet. And I was wondering, what was I going to say? I had something very profound to say. One of the things that Liz told me, and I don't want to steal any of your presentation, but she has such a high pain threshold. She had hers done on Tuesday, and then she was here on Saturday.
I saw your thing saying back in the saddle, and I was like,
I plan on taking off till like the middle of June myself, okay? Good grief.
Yeah, that is something I forgot to mention about that.
Oh, I remember. You were talking earlier about the spiral. Okay, my surgery is not actually elective. I'm having it done because my kidneys will not tolerate the spiral. And my doctor had to remove me from the spironolactone about a year ago. And so what we've been doing is I've been getting shots of Lupron, which is essentially what they use to do chemical castration. Okay, it suppresses the testosterone like Spiro does, but it goes directly into where it needs to go. It doesn't go through your kidneys. It goes, okay. Those injections are once a month. I have to go to the hospital to get them done, and I don't have to pay for them because my insurance is, but they $740 per injection. Now add that up for 10 months is $7,400. Add another, $1,500 to that. You're talking close to $9,000. One orchiectomy, and I'm done.
it's a bargain.
And so I talked to my doctor, and I said, let's do it. I mean, I really don't like getting shots anyway, although I do give myself once a week estrogen injections into my thigh.
Oh.
But I remember once back in the late 80s rather, I was diagnosed with diabetes. And I told the doctor, I said, well, doc, just drag me out behind the hospital and shoot me, because there's just no way in hell I'm going to give myself any injections, because I'm deathly afraid of needles. Then they brought in the diabetes needles and the orange and, showed me how to do it. Gave me my first injection, and I went, wow, that the needles are so microfine that you just don't feel it. Within 2 months, I was shooting them in my stomach, which is one of the places you can do it. And now I have really no fear of that. But I always maintain that was the main reason I wasn't a junkie, because I hated needles.
So for recovery, pain medication was very similar to the previous one. That I was given a big bottle of narcotics, and I only felt like I took it the day of because it really was kind of painful the day of. And next day was mildly sore, and so I took some Tylenol, and that seemed to take care of it. So for both of them, I only have to take the prescription stuff first. Now again, I might have an unnaturally high pain tolerance, considering that each surgery they've always given me a big bottle of narcotics, of which I took 1 or 2
The
pills.
street value is awesome. I'm the exact same, and you can just take those big bottles and probably get half your surgery costs back.
That's what I'm thinking of doing. Going to like a school maybe. And
Actually, my next door neighbor called me and asked for mine.
Ooh.
I shit you not.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
My doctor gave me some oxycodone
Yeah.
when I did my shoulder, when I tore up my rotator cuff, and he says, well, if you don't use them, you can sell them. This is my doctor, and I'm like, and then he starts talking about medical marijuana, and I mean, now this guy is like 80 years old, so I think he's maybe a little senile.
He might be listening. Now, I've also been able to do 8-hour sessions of electrolysis, which most people usually give in after an hour.
Yeah,
so
you
it's,
got a big tight.
So I think I'm able to handle it more. For some reason, it doesn't feel like I've got a low pain tolerance, but it seems like I do. Stitches, I've got. I can tell that there's a bunch of. Well, these ones I think are just like the other ones. They're dissolving stitches, but you can feel them externally because the incision is actually fairly long because. Well, it's longer than I thought. It goes really. I'll show you. Okay.
Try to double again.
Can you just give us a range?
It's about. It's like 3.5 inches long.
Wow.
So because there's more, I guess when you really check. It's fairly long. It goes up higher than I thought it would, and it goes back a little bit farther than it would. So he did say that. I asked which one had a longer recovery or a more difficult recovery. And I'm thinking the answer is neither one of them because I was back at work in a couple of days afterwards, but he said that the angular approach actually has short recovery time because there isn't as long, even those 2 incisions that
just a couple of short.
Yeah, there's a couple of short ones, and so because this one's longer, that there's for him was the biggest difference between them, and yeah, you can definitely feel stitches that are along there. and maybe give just some padding and say, we're under the more support underwear has, the better off it is. But it wasn't. He didn't have as much emphasis on having pressure on there as the cosmetic surgeon did, because it's not cosmetic surgery in the same way. It's not something that's on your face. That's not everyone sees. Probably a handful of people who see it for the rest of my life. Hopefully not too many. Unless I have to go in for a more urological surgery, in which case it'll be another 50 or 60 people who get to see it. So as far as like sky, like I'm not really sure. Now, one thing that I did find is that I drove between those approaches that, well, what would it look like if you got rid of the testicles, did the angle approach, and you just still had a little satchel hanging there without the testicles? But I could not find a picture of what that looked like. And if you try to do searches for orchiectomies, there's lots of pictures you can find of little surgeries of samples and lots of stuff that's around oncology and accidents, but could not find a picture of what it would look like without that, or even the type I got without it taken away.
I was going to say, there's lots of good pictures on the porno sites. Sorry, but a lot of the trans girls that are in trans porn have theirs removed, and then you see them, and they have this, the sac actually kind of shrinks over time and becomes just part of that. I mean, it's not like you've got this turkey neck hanging down there. Okay, it does. Yeah, I'm not quite sure. We'd really have to lean back to get that one.
But even those, because like in those ones, we don't know which approach they took.
Yeah.
So, really couldn't find it. And I asked the doctor if he had any pictures, like, well, what does it consider any pictures? Unlike Dr. Poland, who takes pictures of everybody before and after, I even suggested that getting pictures of that so that people can know what the difference it does look like. I guess most people don't really care that much, or maybe there aren't that many people who, I don't know. But now that that's done, afterthoughts for this one are that it really is quite nice not having to take spiral, and it's nice not having to pee 3 or 4 times a night, because that was really one of the side effects that I had, which is that because of the diuretic effect of it, that I was drinking all the time, I had to pee all the time, and crave salt constantly, and I remember after a couple of the after surgery, the night after surgery, I slept all night and only had to pee 3 months, and the next night I didn't have to get to pee at all.
Oh, that's neat.
So it's like to sleep all night instead of having to go 4 times to pee like I usually had to. I have had I've had swelling in my ankles and my feet a few times, and it's gone up and gone back down again. But that's a common side effect of estrogen. Mm-hmm. And I'm only taking half as much estrogen as I did before. But apparently, not having the testosterone factories there, even though I thought even though I had very low testosterone combination of spironolactone and estrogen, that maybe that it really is, there's essentially more active estrogen in me than there was before, and that's what's causing it. Or even maybe going off of a diuretic is what's causing that, because regulation, I'm not really sure.
No, that is actually true, because there's a lot of blood pressure medications that cause the same essence. So as soon as you ramp it down, so it's very likely diuretic.
Right.
Yeah.
So I actually went back on to spiral for a few days of just like half the dose I did before to try to get more of a ramping down. And I don't know if that helped or if it would have gone down by itself anyway. But yeah, it made me feel kind of pregnant.
You could wear compression socks. Like there's even really nice ones by Smartwool, and or you could just keep your feet up.
Right, and I did a lot of that, which is at work, because I usually stood up during work, and so if I'm wearing props something up so I could be like this, and then at home I was
be a lady of leisure for a bit.
Questions? Before either surgery, do you need to have the hair removal?
Nope.
So they could still do this even though you're not totally.
Yeah, they never asked about it. Okay. And I think the nurse one, because they put almost like it was like a piece of tape over here, or some kind of cover that they put on top of it. So there were stitches, then there were stitches, and then there was some tape over it, and then there was the jaw brow which you saw. And so when I stopped having it, it's almost like a big square of something here. Okay. And it's good to know. At the one week part.
An antibiotic mesh.
could have been. And so when they took it off, they just, the first follow-up, when I heard they pulled it off, and she seemed to be tensioned about it. Maybe she thought there were any hairs that were there. There weren't any. You know, I've still got a few that are still growing, but there weren't any that were really going underneath it. So maybe they were afraid of pulling hairs out. But they didn't ask about that, and since the other guys did it, I guess.
Did they have you stop your estrogen going in?
Nope.
Because my doctor is telling me that I have to stop 2 weeks before surgery before I have my orchiectomy to stop taking my injections.
Who told you
Dr. Beasy.
Is that for blood clots?
Probably in my case it is, because I had a heart attack a couple of years ago, and I had just started transition, and I mean literally 6 weeks after I started transition I had a heart attack. So my doctor was getting ready to prescribe hormones for me, and we put it on in, so I have to put it off for 6 months. So it was April before.
Did you go down to the patch?
I started with the patch. They
this time.
did the pill for a while, but my doctor says no, not good. And now I'm on injections. And
I'm saying this time, could you go down to just the patch instead of?
I don't know. I'm going to talk to my doctor about it when I go in for my pre-op physical, because I mean it really doesn't matter to me, you know, whether I do or not. But I know that I've really gotten used to the injections, and the impact of the injections are phenomenal. I mean, Thursday morning, I took my shot this week on Thursday. I did it Thursday evening. Thursday morning, I was just fine. I watched television. There was nothing. Thursday night, after I took my injection, about an hour afterwards, I saw a picture of somebody's dog on Facebook and just started bawling. You know, so I'm still at that point where I have a more of an emotional reaction to the estrogen than anything else, although it is having some impact on certain parts of my body. So, but yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to steal your floor, but
That's okay. I think Diane has more questions. What should I ask?
I was just wondering, like, when you first got out of the hospital, especially with this, how was it for eating or drinking?
I had a very sore throat first.
liquid diet?
So it was liquid diet for the day of surgery. The next day it was like the first day was having a very bad sore throat. The next day was having a moderately bad sore throat. And that's what that is. I think it was just it might have been mostly just from the tube. I don't know if it was from the tube or from the surgery, because I've never been intubated before.
It was the intubation.
Okay.
And it can hurt for up to a week.
Yeah, it can. I've had that before myself.
I felt it afterwards, but it really only affected me the first and second.
Probably one way or another this year we had that done, so that's why another reason. Either I'm going to have this removed, or I'll have the one with the voice altered. Because my family's having, when I go out to eat, as long as I talk like this, it's fine. And when I get distracted, I kind of go back like this.
You and me both.
You know, even like the other day,
I have my voice Nazi over here.
my daughter happened to, or my wife was with me, and we went out to a fish fry, and while we were there, she says, "You're talking really pale." And I was like, you know, so it's another issue that I have to really either be more conscious of talking like this, or I need to get that surgery done and hopefully it works. So I'm trying to make these decisions now, so that's why I'm asking a lot of these questions.
Now I know that for voice surgery, there is a lot more aftercare than you know, because you've heard about, like, they're not talking for a month, they're not clearing your throat or coughing for a month. But, you know, there's a lot of,
I've heard that the also for the voice is the success rate is not good because there's 3 or 4 possibilities. The worst could be is you won't be able to speak again. The other one would be is, okay, your voice is the same or lower. There's a possibility. The other possibility is, of course, it does work. And of course, having problems swallowing, you know, so there's a lot of complications for having the voice done. And it sounds like this is the best way to go if you can maintain a more feminine voice, or don't care what other people think. You know, I mean, we had Ellie in here as a speaker before we moved, and like she said, she looks like a girl but talks like a dude. You know, and she don't care. She's just at that point. I met a couple of people also recently that it's their problem to deal with, you know. But then again, a lot of times I get called sir.
Yeah, especially on the phone.
On the phone's worst.
I'm at the point now where I do have a phone voice that's just a little bit higher than this one. I talk more like this, but I really don't want to sound like Minnie Mouse either.
Right?
You know, so I try to keep my voice when I'm out in public this way. And around the house, sometimes I'll drop down into my baritone. That's not my voice before I started transition either. I was actually a stadium public address announcer where you do the really deep, hello everybody, you know, and I can't even do that anymore because I've been trying over the years to keep my voice up. And I forget, like you sometimes you just forget and you start talking and pretty soon you're talking like this and oh my God. You know, I was at a Mary Kay party the other day and I came in and I have kind of a weird sense of humor. And so I was about 10 minutes into the meeting, I raised my hand. I said, in case everybody hasn't noticed, I'm a transgender. You know, everybody laughed. And by the time we got maybe 20 minutes into the meeting, I had completely abandoned my voice. And
Keep it high.
yeah, my voice Nazi over here really got on me when I got home. So I try harder, but I didn't realize that there were those possibilities of the voice box surgery. Thank you for sharing that.
I should say that Dr. Tholen said that anytime you're doing, even this has the possibility of change to your voice. And he said though that in his he hasn't had any. The worst case that he had is that someone's voice had been changed for a couple months and then it came back to where it was before.
Okay.
But that he never had anyone lose their voice permanently, or never had anyone lose a permanent voice change. And my reaction when sometimes there have been times when I hear somebody who's got a very low voice, like a trans person's got a very low voice, and at first it seems almost a little out of place, but after a few minutes it just seems normal to me. And I think that's what a lot of people's reactions are. That there's like a kind of a first, there's like it seems like a mismatch at first, but then you quickly get used to it. At least that's kind of how I experience it.
From a cis perspective, I have a voice range that goes all the way up here. Like right now I'm being very polite. And when I was in Japan and I spoke Japanese, women speak really, really high.
Oh boy.
And so like Jeff's witnessed me speaking in Japanese and he's like, oh my God, I don't even know you. But if I'm at home and I'm like talking to my kids, my voice gets down there an octave, like really down there. And so I think given that variation is entirely normal amongst us, like bear that in mind, you know? Because actually, I hate when I answer the phone and they say, "Is your mom there?"
I also had somebody ask me, "Did you smoke, or do you smoke a lot?"
Oh.
Because
Yes.
smoking also drives voices deeper.
That's
3
what
packs
I've
a day, 20 years.
That's what I've told people too. Is I just tell them, "Oh, I smoked for years, darling." You know, and it passes, and people laugh, and we go on. But and I will say this of myself: my voice is the least readable thing. Okay, I'm 6'3". Okay, I got these huge hands, and I wear a size 15 double wide shoe. I mean, I have so many things ahead of my
Your hands
voice.
don't look huge, by the way.
Well,
Remember, it's in proportion.
I think it's bananas.
It's proportions.
Thank you.
Yeah, would you like some of my hand shrinking? Just kidding.
Hand shrinking?
It's a joke.
Like started
But
mine
it is
by
the one that Trump
amputation.
used, I know.
Who?
Trump?
Joking, sorry, just making
Does anyone else have any questions specific to either of those surgeries before we wrap it up?
Or comments, or
Thank you,
any other
Liz.
information that they have that is good for the group?
I
any
have one
subject
thing to
matter?
say that Liz didn't share with us, but I'm going to share with us because she told me when she told me at the last meeting. She says crossing her legs is a lot easier now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
That's
what I'm looking forward to, is being able to cross my legs.
Yeah.
How about the almost? It's still in the way.
There's not much there to consider.
Okay.
Okay, so if you want to hear a little bit of graphic detail,
No.
Cover your ears if you don't. Okay, cover your ears if you don't. Go la la la.
So the stitches go further up along it than I thought they would, and it almost makes kind of a, because they're still stiff, it makes kind of a plank upon which it says there's a little bit of a vis effect, which will go away.
Oh boy.
It's just there.
Is that like a baseball too?
Thanks, Liz, for sharing a lot of this stuff.
Yes.
I was really intrigued with the presentations that you gave. Thank you. And I learned a lot. I appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And you're beautiful.
But we're not in a
I
coffee
think
house.
the one thing that really comes across with Liz's experiences that I find the most positive and helpful to her experiences is that you'll notice many times throughout her preoperative doctor visits, she asks a lot of questions. Like it's really, really important because we all have similar expectations when we go in for these things, but we all might be looking for some different results. So you can expect the experiences to be the same with everyone. So I think it's really important to make lists before you go to your doctor so that they know, what you're specifically looking for, so they can give you an idea of whether or not that's what the results are going to be. If you want to be disappointed by something, not because the doctor did something wrong, but because you're thinking differently about what was actually going to happen and that was going to happen. So, that's really the intelligent thing that Liz did, was make sure that she knew what she needed to know, going into things. So that's amazing. I would want to have not been aware of what was going on for most of those things either. It sounds very uncomfortable.
Yeah, I can. I've hopefully been recording it, so.
Also, she has all the information that you guys may never ever need for if you want to use those doctors. So, definitely feel free to reach back at us. Mm-hmm. Send us an email or message me on Facebook or whatever, and we'll get back to you right away. That's what we're here for. So.
Okay, I have other questions, ones that occur to you later, because usually when I go to something like this, as soon as I walk out is when I think of the one question I really wanted to ask. So that happens to you. I'm always around.
You can ask it at 3 in the morning because we won't care. We'll see when we wake up. It really does. Always reach out. Always reach out to us via email or whatever.
Absolutely.
Works for you. Yeah.
Are we wrapped up? I want to do a post. This isn't a question about this at all.
Okay. Go ahead.
Well,
we are done for anyone who wants to skedaddle. But
done.
If you want to stick around, that's fine too. Until 10 p.m., of course, when the alarm goes off.
I've been in Minnesota now a year and a half from California. And because of my living situation and the fact that a month after I got here, my car got totaled, I haven't had transportation. And it took me quite a while to get here to these meetings, even though I went to one, a couple months ago on GoToMeeting, okay? So a lot of the reasons that I'm here, I've been transitioning now for 4 years, and I pretty well got my life dialed in, but I'm here to help others, for one part. And the other part is to make friends, okay? Because I'm a lonely girl. So I'm planning to have a dinner party. And I was thinking during the meeting today, because my mind does this, it wanders away. Would it be more effective and would more people like to come if we did a potluck and did it here on a Saturday night? Could we do that?
We've actually done potlucks before.
Have you?
Yeah.
Okay, because I would love to I would love to
Still bring any
provide.
pot to the potluck to the church.
I would
Not
love
until the
to.
music gets legalized.
I would love to do the main dish, like a ham or a turkey or a roast or something that everybody could have.
Roast?
A pot roast, yes, absolutely.
I had
Sensimilla
coffee.
roast,
Yeah.
yeah.
With
A Dean Martin roast, a celebrity roast. No, so if we'd like to do that sometime in the future, in the near future, I would, because I live in St. Paul and a lot of people don't like crossing the river, I guess. So, and frankly, my house is small. These are two of my roommates. I have 3 roommates, and so it's a little crowded. So if it would be more effective and more people would like to come, can we maybe schedule a potluck somewhere in maybe in the middle of May? and I can get some kind of a.
Memorial Day would be a nice time.
Oh,
maybe.
that would be nice.
Yeah, because we actually did the last
Okay.
one over the 4th of July, just for those who maybe didn't have
Yeah.
anything to do over the
Yeah.
holiday. We had done it over the 4th.
Right. Yeah.
So
That would be
people
really
could
nice, and
together.
I would, like I said, I would love to provide the main dish for everyone. So
Second
we
the
can,
motion?
what?
Second the
I-
motion? All opposed?
Yeah. Well, as my pastor said, and there's none to oppose. Whenever we would vote new members in, he would, all in favor, aye, and there's none to oppose. Even if you did oppose, you couldn't tell him that. But okay, well, let's. I'll talk to you girls about doing that.
Yeah,
We'll
we
get
need to make
something.
sure we have the room.
Yeah. Okay.
Because they schedule this is such a busy organization with the 3 denominations here. Obviously, we have to make sure that we
Okay.
can actually get it on a Saturday night. And as you've noticed, we've had company for
Yeah.
3 Saturdays in a row.
Oh, my.
Now, every time we've been here, we've had.
No, I guess we didn't have the first.
We didn't on the first open house night.
We had the big room.
So 2 out of
Yeah,
3. But anyways, yeah. So definitely, I need to know an actual
Okay.
date.
Well, we'll plan
We'll talk about it
something
again.
go down the road a month or two, and we'll do that. I like I said, I just don't. I mean, I have this. These are not only my 2 roommates; these are 2 of my 3 friends. Okay, so I just don't have a lot of friends, and because I just haven't been out to meet people. So
I don't
now
have friends because I don't like people.
well, that's true too. But I have. I look at it this way: there were 14 of us here tonight, and I have 13 new friends. So unless you don't like me, and then what the hell? But I would like to. I would like to do that and have a little social time so we can meet and be here. So great, thank you.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Thank you for bringing it up.
Well, I'm a hostess. I always have been. I mean, for 16 years of my last marriage, I cooked all the meals, I did all the shopping, and whenever we would have a family dinner or whatever, I cooked it, I served it, I cleaned it up. And everybody else would be off having coffee or what was stronger adult beverages, and I would be in the kitchen. It was my kitchen. Stay out of my damn kitchen, you know? And when we remodeled our home, I picked out the appliances and I designed the kitchen for me. Of course, I still have that kitchen. I just don't get to use it anymore. It's in California, and my ex-wife has it, so it's her house. So, but I do like to entertain. I do like to have people over, and I take that back. I forgot that Kate came in. She's my friend too from California. We used to sing karaoke together. We promised no karaoke at the potluck. Okay, at least I did.
Yeah, I don't promise that. I don't promise that, no.
But for my own part, I really feel welcome here. I feel very comfortable, and I thank you all for making that possible. I really do. And a lot of new folks here tonight that I didn't see the last time I was here. So cool. I like it. I mean, we might not be best friends, but I have people that I know, you know. And I was on the Human Rights Campaign steering committee for a year. And I feel closer to you people after 2 weeks than I did with them after a year. That's why I'm not on their steering committee anymore. So that's another subject. But
Anybody else? We'll probably eat too, so if people have ideas.
World
For
Kitchen is
places
really
that can
good.
eat.
Like walking distance World Kitchen. Or
There's walking distance for about
Oh,
15
French Meadow
restaurants.
is also like practically walking distance too.
What is?
It's good. Yeah, French Meadow.
Yes,
great
French Meadow
place.
is. Could be a little.
I've eaten
Crazy, but I love
Yeah,
it.
they've got table service right now, which makes it spendy right now.
It's good.
Anybody in here have diabetes besides me?
No, but I'm celiac.
I'm sorry?
No, but I'm celiac.
Oh, okay.
Which
Well, I
means
was
my
just
food tastes like
diagnosed on
sadness.
Wednesday with diabetes, so I've been diabetic before, but in the 90s, quick story, I had diabetes. I was taking 72 units of insulin. I did that for 2 years. I had a bariatric surgery, the old stomach staple back then, which obviously worked so well. And now my weight has crept back up 25 years later, and now I'm diabetic again. Type 2, yeah. So we stopped
Join
on
my
the...
running club. We're in St. Paul.
What's that?
Join my running club. We're in St. Paul.
I have 2 artificial knees. Is that
That's
count?
okay. We're
Well,
cool.
for those that are still online, we're going to shut down the line now. So thanks for joining us, and talk to you next time.
Yep. Well, these are looking good.
So is anybody gonna wanna join us, go out to eat?
If we can find anything nearby, that is.
Yeah,
It's
right.
pretty busy on the streets.
You know any restaurants that let you pay with your good looks?
It's been like that. So listen, I've been in town all afternoon, and it's been
Is it
pretty
not?
great
It
here.
is really crazy.
Yeah. We actually accomplished less than we wanted to because of people in our way.